Hello, everybody. So today we're going to be talking about air masses. So in your Edmodo, you want to scroll until you get to the post that says air masses. We have the link for the reading. We have the practice questions, and we have my email that you send your responses to. So let's take a look at these air masses. So an air mass is going to be a large body of air that has about the same conditions throughout. So it's just this huge mass of air that has the same conditions all the way through. So for example, an air mass might have cold, dry air, or it may have warm, moist air. So these characteristics of the air are going to depend on where the air mass formed. So the air has to stay over that location long enough to pick up the characteristics. So most air masses form over polar or tropical regions. So polar being very cold, tropical being very warm. So they may form over continents or over oceans. So if they form over oceans, they're going to have moist air. If they form over continents, they're going to have dry air. So if an air mass forms over an ocean, it is called a maritime air mass. Those that form over continents are called continental air masses. So here's an image below showing all the air masses that form over or near our continent. So an air mass is going to take on the conditions of the area where it forms. So if it is continental polar, it is going to have cold, dry air. If it's maritime polar, it is going to have cold, moist air. So when an air mass moves over a region, it is going to bring its characteristics there. So that may change the area's temperature and the area's humidity. So when an air mass moves, it can cause the weather to change when it gets into contact with different conditions. So for example, if it's a warm air mass and it moves over cold ground, it may cause an inversion. So temperature inversion where, well, that we can explain later. So air masses are moved by winds and jet streams, and they kind of balance out temperatures. So if it's a cold air mass, it's going to move toward the equator where it's warm. If it's a warm air mass, it's going to move toward the poles where it's cold. And the Coriolis effect that we talked about much earlier is going to cause them to move on a diagonal trajectory. So make sure you finish your questions and turn them into me.